PFF put together a day 2 mock draft for every team in the NFL, and wouldn't you know it, the Kansas City Chiefs are a team in the NFL. So we have their projections for day 2 to look at. Starting with number 63, Chiefs select defensive interior Darius Alexander from Toledo. As with the first video from today, I said that I'm not as high on Alexander as most other people. That said, he will start for Kansas City week 1, snap 1, from what it looks like right now. They say Alexander was lightly recruited and was a late bloomer in college football. He will be 25 his rookie season, but his measurables and strength are NFL caliber. He is a contributing NFL defensive lineman at worst due to his strength profile and starting caliber impact potential in odd and even front. 6'4", 305 pounds, 10-inch hands, 34-inch arms, which was surprising for me to see. He doesn't look like a long athlete. 4.95 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine. That is a good number for a defensive interior lineman. A 4.79 short shuttle, a 7.60 3-cone drill. Those are kind of passing numbers, but again, if you're willing to do that, you get plus points for courage, because if you run a bad number, it gets you booted off some draft boards. And these are numbers that are skewed, I'll say it 1,000 times, by the fact that it's only guys who are going to perform very well at those drills that end up doing them. 31.5-inch vertical leap, decent explosiveness for a 305-pound guy, 111-inch broad jump. That is a good number there. 28 reps on the bench press isn't quite what you would want to see, but with 34-inch arms, you give it a little bit of a pass. From ESPN, Alexander is a better pass rusher than his 9 sacks over 5 collegiate seasons suggest, and he has the tools to continue to get better. He shoots his hands, locks out, and pushes blockers, rushing the passer. He can get off blocks at the top of his rush and mix in a push-pull move. He gets upfield and redirects inside with an arm-over move. Alexander got his hands up and had 5 passes defended in 2024. He stacks and sheds blocks defending the run, and he fights off through double teams. He can get into gaps and chases with good effort. I think that he would be a bit of a liability against the run in the NFL. I don't know what of his game translates to the NFL. He did decent in college. I think that he is a plus pass rusher. He will be a plus pass rusher over what it was that Tershawn Wharton provided, but Tershawn Wharton was a kind of a little tank in the middle of the defense, and again came in as a UDFA. So anytime you're having to chase a UDFA with a second round pick, it looks like you're chasing good money with bad, or bad. You're chasing bad money with good. I think that's the phrase, right? Because the Chiefs got so much value out of Tershawn Wharton, but they did move on from Tershawn. Tershawn actually cashed in a massive deal this offseason. So you weren't going to sign Turk Wharton for that kind of money here in Kansas City. Replacing him with someone like Alexander is probably an upgrade, I think, probably an immediate upgrade. But I think that what you would be gaining with pass rush, you would be losing with run support. And keeping those linebackers clean is, I think, a good job for your defensive tackle number 2 to be able to do. And Tershawn Wharton was pretty effective at that. He wasn't the greatest, but I think he was pretty effective at that, especially for the contract that you had him on. He gets a comp of Larry Ogunjobi from ESPN. That would be an interesting selection to add Larry Ogunjobi at the end of the second round for the Kansas City Chiefs. I just don't see it that strong. At 66, Kansas City from the Titans edge Jared Ivey from Mississippi. Ivey is a physically gifted player with devastating power in his hands to hold the point of attack and stack and shed consistently. He lacks the speed and lower body flexibility to be a speed threat as a 4-3 defensive end, so his best fit is more likely inside for a 3-4 front that would maximize his special strength every play. Special strength, only putting up 23 reps on the bench press, is a bit of a misnomer. He does have play strength, however, a 5.09 40-yard dash from his pro day as a 6'6", 274-pound defensive end. That's concerning. Again, I don't know. I think that he looks faster than that on the field. He does not look fast on the field. The power that he has, if he's able to carry that into the NFL, would make him an effective pass rusher, just not a speed rusher. That is not exactly what the Kansas City Chiefs desperately need. The Kansas City Chiefs kind of desperately need a speed rush option, but this is the way their defensive line works. He would provide interior flexibility for the Kansas City Chiefs. He would be pretty undersized at 274, but we see George Karlaftis play inside for the Kansas City Chiefs from time to time. 33.5-inch arms are, he looks like a longer athlete than that. Weird to say that Alexander does not look as long as an athlete as he measures out, and Ivy looks longer, but I think it's true. I think that he is a guy who will be a better pro than he was a college prospect, because I think that in the NFL, it's all about using players in the positions that maximize what it is that they do. And Jared Ivey is able to do some things. If you're getting Jared Ivey in the third round of the draft, you're probably doing all right for yourself. Were it not for Charles Omenihu, I think he would be an immediate starter. I know it sounds like I'm real down on FAU. I just haven't seen it from him. When he was drafted, I said I think his ceiling is Mike Dana, and that seems to remain true. So Jared Ivey would get meaningful reps for the Kansas City Chiefs. Getting meaningful reps on a team that has gone to 3 consecutive Super Bowls is no easy feat, especially as a third-round pick. Ivey is long and strong enough to stack offensive tackles and overpower tight ends while setting the edge against the run. He's a bigger edge who can hold his ground one-on-one when he lines up over guards. He is a powerful edge rusher who can put offensive tackles on roller skates and disengage at the top of his rush. Ivey mixes in a long arm move and knocks offensive tackles hands down. He gets offensive tackles off balance with weaving moves. His active hands and quickness make him a tough matchup for interior offensive linemen when he kicks inside to rush the passer. And I know it seems early to talk about this. It seems it makes us uneasy in our stomachs to talk about this. George Karlaftis might not have a second contract with the Kansas City Chiefs. George Karlaftis, I think, will likely earn a pretty big deal in free agency. He hasn't been a massive standout here, but he has been a solid contributor and plays a lot of downs, and that gets you paid in the NFL. The Chiefs might not have all that money to go around, and while he is not a great complement to George Karlaftis, I think that with a little bit of experience under him, he could be a replacement for George Karlaftis. So that is something to think about as well. Now, they also have pick 95, running back DJ Giddens from Kansas State. Giddens brings good eyes, patience, and anticipation to a backfield, finding open space between the tackles with one-cut ability and long strides for long speed. He needs to play with more violence to gain yards after contact if he is to truly make a name for himself in a running back rotation. 6 foot tall, 212 pounds. You're looking at a smaller running back here. 4.43 40-yard dash at the combine, short shuttle of 4.33, 3-cone drill of 7.19. Not great numbers there, but probably serviceable. 39.5-inch vert is a good number there. Then you're looking at a 130-inch broad jump, so 95th percentile vert and 98th percentile broad jump. Great explosive numbers when you're talking about one-cut runners. The short shuttle and the 3-cone drill, that's for a couple cuts, right? One cut is the explosive numbers. 153, 10-yard split on his 40-yard dash. So that's 83rd percentile 10-yard split, 87th percentile 40. So kind of an even runner there, not a guy who relies too much on acceleration. Giddens tied for the second best broad jump, 10 feet 10 inches, and the second best vertical jump, 39.5 inches, out of all the running backs at this year's combine. He also ran a 4.43 40-yard dash, which reflects what you see on tape and in his production. Giddens sets up his blocks and makes late cuts behind them, and in open space, he can make defenders miss. He might not be a 3-down back early in his career, but he can produce after the catch. He reminds me, for what it's worth, of Damian Williams. Damian Williams, not the greatest running back, but he did very well for the Kansas City Chiefs, probably have earned a Super Bowl MVP trophy that was given to a specific quarterback that will remain nameless here. But the Chiefs have not had that one cut with vision ability since Damian Williams left. That was something that he was very good at for the Kansas City Chiefs, making that decision, making that one cut, and getting upfield. And it makes you look more powerful than you are because you're able to do that in the middle of the defense. Isaiah Pacheco, for what he's good at, one thing he's not good at is vision. He just kind of lowers his head and runs toward whatever is in front of him. And look, I can appreciate that. I like watching that. It is not the most effective on the field. As for these three players in this day 2 selection, when you add them to Josh Simmons, this becomes a very interesting draft for the Kansas City Chiefs because it becomes a very line-centric draft for the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs need to get better along the offensive line. The Chiefs need to get better along the defensive line. This draft would do that. You're getting also maybe 10 carries a game out of Giddens here. And, who does he beat out in this backfield? Who is he better than in this backfield? That becomes an argument. I know we saw Brett Veach talk about how deep this running back class is. I know Brett Veach has voiced the fact that it would be good to grab a running back this year. Also, edge players. He talked about the edge class, and you have Jared Ivey there. But I don't know exactly what you would be doing with Giddens. I think he would be a situational player for the Kansas City Chiefs. I think Kareem Hunt takes those short yardage plays again. The odd man out, oddly enough, in this offense after the preseason, we'll have to see, but it might be Isaiah Pacheco. Isaiah Pacheco has really struggled from the fact that he has not been able to develop the ability to wait on blocks. He has not been a very patient runner, and the offense struggles with that. Looking at the backfield for the Kansas City Chiefs, you have a speed guy, you have a power guy, and then you have Isaiah Pacheco. And Giddens, again, reminds me of Damian Williams on the field, and I think that does translate to the NFL. So these 3 picks, I think Giddens is... I think Darius Alexander is a worse value than Giddens where you're getting him. I think Giddens is my least favorite of these 3 picks because I don't know where to put him on the field. I don't know how many snaps to give him. I think that Ivy might start. I think that Alexander would start, and I think that Giddens would be a sort of situational player for the Chiefs. With that second, third round pick, honestly, I'd rather go back to one of the lines again. Could you get a third defensive tackle that would be better than the Chiefs' third defensive tackle right now? That's a guy who's going to play some reps every game. Could you get a guy? So the problem with, I said 10 carries, 10 touches per game for Giddens. I think that's the top of the bounds without moving on from one of these other running backs. Maybe you get into camp and all of a sudden Kareem Hunt just does not have it. He looks the way that he did late last year. That would be a problem. You would need another running back. Maybe Isaiah Pacheco didn't learn anything during his time on the sideline last year. He looked better at the beginning of last year than he looked in his second season or that he looked when he came back from his injury. But maybe he doesn't learn. You move on from Isaiah Pacheco. Sounds like sacrilege. I understand. Maybe it happens. But this would be a good day 2 for the Kansas City Chiefs. You would get 3 guys who would be on the field for them, and you would just be looking for maybe having Giddens contribute as a kick returner as a rookie. I think that might be his key onto the field from this group. Anyway, guys, that is the second video I posted today. There will be a third coming shortly. There will be videos for the Chiefs' second and third round picks today as well. And as always, I hope to have you back for the next one.